Welcome back, City Builders. Kodiak here. In today's video, we're going to be going over the newest Word of the Week 15, as well as pop over to a different website that actually has a ton of updated new modding information for Cities Skylines 2. Now, before we get started, almost 70 to 80% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you guys find any use out of today's video, please make sure to drop that subscription. It means a ton. So before we get started, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with all the Cities Skylines 2 news, tips, and tricks. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we get started today, I just want to let you guys know that tomorrow, Tuesday, at around noon Eastern or New York City time, I will be live over here on YouTube. We'll be continuing a city I just started on one of the new maps that I'll actually be talking about in a separate video I'm going to produce. I'm going to try to keep the modding and map stuff separate for right now from the Word of the Week and update content, mostly because I want this video to actually hit as many people as possible, because there's actually a ton of really great information that didn't come out in today's Word of the Week. And honestly, I don't even really want to talk about today's Word of the Week. It was a bit of a nothing burger. And for those of you who, like me, when I first saw this, were a little disappointed by the fact that pretty much everything in this is kind of just rehashed information, aside from the fact that, hey, we have modders in early access now. Something that I actually sat down and thought about was that last week we were supposed to have the art team do a Word of the Week, and that actually got delayed. And I think that, at least to me, maybe created some false sense of that we were going to get a lot of new information in this week's Word of the Week, and we were actually not given a lot of new information in this Word of the Week. So anyways, TLDR about this entire Word of the Week is modders have some early access right now. They are actively looking at and seeing some of the exciting new mods and maps that we have already made, and that's pretty much all the new information in this week's Word of the Week. So let's actually head over to that other thing I was talking about. So here we are over on the Cities Skylines 2 Wiki. If you guys didn't know, there is a Cities Skylines 2 Wiki. There was one for Cities Skylines 1 as well that gives you a lot of breakdowns of different information. So for example, if you want to learn more about zoning, you can go over here to the zoning page, and it gives you a pretty good explanation of just about everything. So if you ever have questions or don't understand how a certain mechanic works in the game, it's all written out right here. But now here's the big but. Down over here under the miscellaneous tab, we have access to a bunch of different options, right? We have maps, developer diaries, but we also have access to modding. If we go over here to modding, there is now a new beta documentation thing here in the modding page for the Cities Skylines 2 Wiki. It says, modding support is currently in beta, featuring code mods and map creation tools. This means features may not be finished until they're subject to changes, or they are subject to change. This page will be updated. So this page is going to get updated over time. And if we actually go over here to view history of the page, we can actually see that this was updated on March 8th right here. So we actually have access to a bunch of different information here on the Cities Skylines 2 Wiki in terms of looking at when certain pages were updated. And if we actually go in here, we'll actually find that if we actually go back to the history here, if we go back to October 24th, we'll notice that this page was a lot smaller. So we only had access to hyperlinks to the editor, asset creation guide, and community made guidelines. But if we go back, you'll now notice that we also have how to publish code mod, UI modding, modding toolchain, how to upload a map, and there is some new stuff over there. Now, as far as I can tell, this is all public information, but they didn't announce that this was basically dropped onto the wiki. I'm a little surprised they didn't include any of this in the most recent Word of the Week. I don't know if they just didn't expect us to see it and they're just trying to silently update the wiki, but at that point, why wouldn't you just make it quietly on the back end? Now, if we go over here to the recent changes tab, you can actually see that in the past 7 days, there has been 50 changes, and you can actually sort this by a bunch of different days. So if we actually go back to 14 days, it's still 50 changes. So they just recently updated this starting on the 8th through the 11th, that all of this stuff has kind of been added to the wiki. And you can actually see how many characters were added to each one of these pages. So map creation got 22,000 new characters added to that page here. We have 18,000 added to this one, and a bunch of other ones have received some updates. Obviously, the developer diaries one has been updated here, but that one's not as important. But you can go back through and see that, like, hey, all of these, changed by this number of bytes. Sorry, number of bytes, not characters. And there's a bunch of other stuff on here. You can see that this was created as a new page, as a minor editor. It was performed by a bot. So if it doesn't have B in it, which I have it filtered out to say that it's not it was a human that made these changes, not a bot, you can actually see that all of this stuff was manually updated and added to the wiki. So let's go through some of these pages and uncover some of the things that are public information now that we can start using to kind of understand the future of Cities Skylines too. So first, I want to dive into the map creation page, because I think that the map creation page is something we kind of already limitedly have access to in developer mode. I don't know if there's actually a video out there going over how to basically get into the map creation tools. I know there's a Reddit post somewhere that I found, so if there is a video, I'll link it down below if somebody else did it. If not, I might make one. If that's something you guys want, let me know down in the comments. But I'll also link the Reddit post down below, or whatever, wherever somebody figured it out, I'll link a link to it down in the description. But a lot of this we already kind of have access to, but now they've given their pretty much complete guide to how map creation is going to work, or at least how it currently works in its current state. There's going to be some notes, some errors, so you can start to get a grasp of what custom maps are going to look like and how they're going to be made in Cities Skylines 2. And the reason I wanted to touch on this one first is this is something that we can all kind of take advantage of. I think all of us have the capabilities of creating a custom map. While some of us might not have the know-how to make a code mod or maybe even an asset, we all have the ability to use the landscaping tools and make a map and upload it to any kind of workshop. Again, my videos are all chaptered. If you guys find the map stuff boring and you want to move on to the next section of the video, you guys can use the chapter down below to move past the map stuff. So obviously we have the table of contents as a good wiki should, but we can actually just kind of scroll through here and see different things. So there's a map panel for workspaces. You have your map settings, and you can go in here and, just adjust a bunch of different options. You can see the preview, you can see the thumbnail, where the preview angle is going to be, select the starting tiles for it, and they give you a description for pretty much all of this, right? You have a starting year, month, time. So if you want to start in the southern hemisphere and you want it to be summer, you can start in January, whereas if you want to start in the summer in the northern hemisphere, you would start in June, obviously. If you scroll down even further, we'll find some more details. Obviously, we can select starting tiles, but they give you a map checklist, so you know that you have everything in your city. So do you have oil? Do you have ore? Do you have forest? Do you have fertile tiles? Things like that. Right here, I found this pretty interesting. So required is selecting your starting tiles, having surface groundwater in your starting area, have an outside road connection, and give your map a name. But optional are pretty much everything else. You don't need to include any resources in your map whatsoever, according to this right here. Obviously, you don't need an outside electrical or airplane connection because you can draw those in, and same with trains. But I found the resources part quite interesting. Down here is the climate panel. So for those of us wondering, like, gosh, man, I really wish this map had snow, or I wish this map didn't have snow. In here in the map editor, they will obviously allow you to change the climate and weather patterns for your city. So you can load a climate prefab, which allows you to load in a built-in climate prefab to load in the climate settings for your template. So it's basically like a climate template. But then you can also set your longitude and latitude, which will actually set your sun position. So that's what the longitude and latitude setting does, is it sets the sun position and angles, your freezing temperatures, which will basically tell you if you're going below zero or not, your default weather for your city. There are 6 standard weather prefabs loaded. So I'm assuming that you can create custom ones at some point, or maybe there'll be a mod that can expand on weather at some point as well, especially since we can see this now. This is something that could pretty easily happen, I would assume. I don't know about easily, but it could definitely happen. You can also remove seasons. So 4 standard seasons are loaded: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Map creation seasons can be added, removed, and edited here. So you can actually remove some of the seasons from it. I don't really know how that works in terms of like actually making the map. Obviously, we could remove winter from like a weather perspective, like not have cold dips or anything like that. But what does that actually do to the game? Do we still get that blue wintry LUT when winter time is there, or does that completely remove that? I'm very curious to see what that is all about when it comes to actually making the map, where we have cloud chance. So your actual chance to create clouds, the amount of clouds that get created, cloud amount deviation. So this is the variety, your precipitation chance, the amount of precipitation, again, the variety of precipitation amounts, and maybe chances. We have turbulence, which I find interesting. A range from 0 to 1. This sets how turbulent the transition between weather events is. Low numbers are smooth, slow transitions, while higher numbers are abrupt, fast transitions. Example: a low number would show a slow, gradual change from clear skies to heavy cloud cover. A high number would make the change from clear skies to heavy clouds significantly shorter time. So if you want to make like a more realistic, like tropical place, tropical areas are more prone to having very quick, rapidly developing storms than areas that are more temperate, for example. So we also have the aurora amount and the chance for aurora. So if you don't want any chance for the auroras to occur, because if you were building a map that's closer to the equator, it wouldn't make sense to do that, you can actually turn that off right in here. So here in the water panel, we have selecting water and workspaces with the water panel right here, so we can actually select water, and then there's also a bunch of different water settings. We obviously have the water mod that just came out by Yen Yang, which I will put a link to down in the description. The name is actually escaping me, but it's down in the description. I'll just call it water mod, where we can actually place and adjust water sources, and I'm assuming this builds off of that mechanic that already exists kind of in the map maker. Something you can do in dev mode is actually adjust the water simulation speed, which you can do right here. I'm noticing this right now, but you can also adjust, your water source rate. Again, a lot of this stuff is just kind of related to the Yen Yang's water mod, but Yen Yang just brought it and made it available to you outside the map maker. So that's really nice. Resource panel, so you can go through the resources, and they allow you to place the 4 resources: ore, oil, farming, and water, which you can do with extra landscaping tools mod right now. Again, a lot of the mods are built off of stuff that was already in the game on the back end. Now here was what I kind of find interesting right here. This is labeled as water settings, so I think that's a mistake, maybe. I mean, there is some water settings right here, but we also have resource import texture. So we have import ore, import oil, import farmland, import groundwater, and you can clear all of them. So using the import button, you can import a grayscale 16-bit PNG texture, which will apply the selected resource onto the terrain. So I'm not really too sure what this means. I don't know if this means like you take a square image and then like paint a resource map onto it, and then you can import that and it automatically paints the resource onto the map. I think that's what that means. Let me know down in the comments if you guys think it's something else. That's kind of how I think it is. Black is no resource, white is resource. When creating a resource texture, best practice would be to use the map's height map as a reference to properly align your resources. I think that's how that works. Which I think is really interesting. So that's how you can do it. Or I guess you can paint the resources manually is kind of how I'm thinking that you can do it, but we'll see when the actual tools come out to us. So we can also use the terrain tools. Obviously, we also have access to the height map, so we can do the height map scale. Terrain height maps can be imported and exported. Height maps can, with an external tool, should be placed under height map /folder. Height map scale is measured in meters and is defaulted at 4,096. This sets the highest elevation point for your map, where 0 is the lowest point and 4,096 is the highest. So for example, if you set a height scale to 8,000, the lowest point in your map will start with 0 meters and your highest point would be 8,000 meters. Your height map data is stretched to meet the new scale when creating height maps. You can think of black as 0 meters and white as the highest value on your scale. Height maps exported from the editor will appear here, containing any modifications made. So if you ever made a map of Cities Skylines 1, you should know probably that you can import height maps into the game. So as you can see here, there's like darker areas and there's brighter areas. The brighter areas are taller and the darker areas are lower to the ground. So the height map only applies to the playable area. Optionally, an extended world map can be imported, which contains both playable areas and surrounding unplayable world. So here's the world map. As we know, everything outside of this is not buildable for us, but the data is there. So eventually, I'm really hopeful that we get a mod that allows us to be able to, like the 81 tiles mod from Cities Skylines 2, Cities Skylines 1, that allows us to build out to the edge of the map, because we go from 14,336 meters to 57,344 meters. Right here, they go through how to place water sources. Again, we have a mod that currently allows us to do that, and it is quite similar in a lot of ways. So I'm just going to skip right past that one. And then we can go into decorating your map, and you basically get access to the dev mode add object menu. Pressing add object button opens the add object panel, which is something, again, we have access to in dev mode right now, but basically allows us to go through all of this stuff. But there's actually, as we can see right here, an updated filter option, which is not something we currently have in the dev mode that we're currently using. If you press the home button on your keyboard with dev mode active, you open up this add object menu. It's how a lot of people are currently detailing in Cities Skylines 2 right now. I have a whole video on that down below. It's not that detailed or up to date. I released this video right when we kind of discovered this add object menu, but I'll still leave it down in the description because it does teach you how to turn it on. And in the pinned comments in that video, it teaches you how to turn it on if you're using the game on Game Pass. But now there's some actual filter options here. So we have buildings, vehicles, props, foliage, characters, areas, surfaces, bridges, roads, tracks, effects, locations, and lights, which is pretty cool. They then go through how to save your map. So you can go in here and see that there's different versions of the map. In the map panel, completing a checklist, you preview image for your thumbnail, and then you hit save map, enter the file name, this separate map name from the previous map panel. And then they also give us a preview of uploading the map to PDX Mods, which I think is our first reference of like what that could potentially look like, I guess. So we have two methods. So we can do method 1, load into the editor, and either load a map you have completed or create and finish a new map. Open the map panel. Press the share map to open the save map and share panel, so it's going to be built right in. This is separate to the map name in the previous map panel. Press save and share to open the map upload window. Fill out the name, short description, and long descriptions. Select optional values for forum links and links to your socials, so that's pretty cool. Optionally add any screenshots to showcase your map in PDX Mods and press submit. And then option 2 is load into the main menu. Select new game, change to the custom maps tab, select the map you wish to share, and then there should be a share map option in there, and then basically the same process occurs after that. So that is pretty much everything on maps that was uploaded. Again, a lot of the stuff we have access to on the back end, but for a lot of people, they don't necessarily know that we have access to the map maker right now if we force our way into it. That's how a lot of people are creating custom maps right now that you can go download on Thunderstore. Now, speaking of PDX Mods, one of the pages that was updated was the actual PDX Mods page. Now, this only talks about the map maker right now, but as you can see, we can see right here, we have short description, long description, forum links, external links, so you can put your URL, and you can add a bunch of different links if you want to, and screenshots for anything as well. So that's all right here, and that's pretty much all we're gonna get on the PDX Mods page. Now, after we go through the maps page, let's dive into the editor. The editor in Cities Skylines 2 is an all-in-one tool for creating a variety of assets, maps. This resources will show how to use the editor from start to finish, walk through in depth, blah, 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 blah. So this is the interface. This is the pause menu. Basically, we're just gonna have access back to the editor, new map, options, exit. This is basically an extension of the map maker in a way. Just a reminder that the editor is going to be used to make maps as well as assets. So it's going to be an all-in-one tool to make maps and assets using this editor. Now, if we scroll down further, we go to the workspace panel, and this is for maps specifically. So workspace panel shows your hierarchy of inspectors, as well as a list of any placed objects on the workspace. So basically map, climate, water, resources, maybe other objects when you import them. So in the editor views, the editor info views show an expandable panel, which is the following info views: the natural resources, air pollution, and water pollution. Again, I don't remember there being, let's actually go back. Let me take a look here. So in the map page, did they even tell us anything about air pollution, wind direction? I don't see anything about that. Yeah, I went back through and I did not see anything in the editor about the air pollution and water pollution in the map maker, so that's really interesting. I really am curious how, wind direction kind of works. I just didn't see anything on the wiki. If you guys saw something, maybe I skipped over it. If I did, let me know down in the comments, but very curious to see how like wind placement works and stuff like that. I actually really despise the wind mechanic in Cities Skylines 2 because I like just kind of planning my city out however I want to, and I hate having to manage where the air pollution is going to, which is why I always point it out in my map videos whenever I bring up maps and show you guys the map spotlights. I really hate wind direction in this game, so I was interested to see maybe more about that mechanic, but sadly not today. So then we also have the editor toolbar, which goes over the entire toolbar right here. So on the left has a play pause button, display time and date. It's all normal stuff here. In the middle is the center, comprises 3 sliders. Left sliders controls the time of day. The middle controls the time of year. The right one controls the weather and cloudiness. You can reset any of the sliders by clicking the icon next to them. So if you click the actual icon next to it, it'll reset it. The right has 3 icons. First person mode. So there is a built-in first person mode in the game. I know there is a first-person mode mod. Again, I'll link that down in the description as well. But there is a built-in mode for it. I hope that gets added as something we can do in the actual base game at some point. But it does exist in the game, so at least a mod will be able to take care of that, which it already kind of does. Orbit mode, the camera will lock onto the selected item and orbit around it, and opens the pause menu dialog. And then there's your editor toolset. So we have the import asset button right here. We have the modify terrain button. We have add objects. We have edit prefab and bulldoze. Now, next up is one that I don't think a ton of people are going to be able to get use out of, or maybe even knowledge. I don't even really understand a lot of this stuff, to be quite honest with you, but this is the modding toolchain. And one of the more important bits of this is that in developer mode, when we have access to it now, we'll actually see this options menu with the modding. Obviously, they're in beta right now, so it has this big beta flag next to it. But this is the toolchain state. It says the modding toolchain is installed. You can uninstall it or whatever. We have a Unity editor, our Unity license, Unity mod project, net SDK, C# mod project template, node.json, UI mod project template, and IDE. Again, if you are a code modder, maybe some of this will make a little bit more sense to you, I guess. For me, it does not, because I am not a modder and I don't know much about it from like the actual core modding perspective of things. But this was probably the page that I think had the most changes to it, and that is one of probably the bigger things. So I'm not going to go through the modding toolchain because I don't know what I'm reading. But I want to use this time to let you know that if you do, you can actually go through here and read through how all of this works, how to use the modding toolchain, and what that looks like. I don't want to make it seem like I'm kind of half-assing this news, because I find this disinteresting. I just don't want to share and make assumptions about what this entire page references and does, and I want to just get it out to you guys so people who do can. Now, obviously, a lot of the modders, like some of the core veteran modders from Cities Skylines 1, as well as some of the new teams like Cities do modding, they have, I would assume, based on the word of the week, that they are potentially part of the early access. So I think a lot of the modders probably at this point have access to the early builds of the modding. So if you were somebody who is kind of new and fresh and was looking to get into Cities 2 modding, this might actually be your first step in reading how all of that information is going to work right now. That way you can build a mod that isn't going to potentially break when they actually implement official modding support, because I am a little concerned maybe that some of the mods that we currently have will probably break when official modding support comes out, and depending on how they're built, might not work with the official modding support. I'm hoping that's not the case, but it is always something to keep in mind as somebody who's using unofficial mods, which we currently are if you're using Thunderstore. While it is safe, just know that those mods might not be available anymore come the next major update for the game. Now, finally, the last major page that got a big update was UI modding. Again, I don't know a lot about this, to be quite honest with you, but if there's one thing I do know about Cities Skylines 2, especially compared to Cities Skylines 1, is how nice the UI and how easy it's been for modders to adapt to the current UI. It has really been. Like, I mean, if you look at any of the newer mods, especially like the Anarchy mods, like they seamlessly implemented their mods into the current UI. And I think that says a lot about how the team at Colossal Order has kind of set up the UI for Cities Skylines 2 to be worked on, especially from a modding perspective. Again, this page will be available to you. I don't know anything about reading through all this, so this is just more of a PSA for anybody who does. You can actually go through and take a look at this and kind of gather your own thoughts and opinions on how this is going to work, and better prepare yourself if you're looking to get into modding down the road. So while the word of the week this week was a bit of a dud, that doesn't mean the team at Colossal Order isn't busy, and I'm hoping that this modding page kind of shows that to everybody out there, that there is a lot going on in the back end, and they're finally starting to release that information. Although quietly, as this was kind of hidden over here on the wiki, it is public information now, and it is something that I think a lot of the community should start looking at. And I hope this helps us kind of understand that, like, Colossal Order is kind of giving us a lot of this information from a lot of different avenues. So if we only pay attention to just the word of the week, we're missing all the stuff that they're telling people on Twitter or on Reddit or on Instagram or on the wiki or in the Paradox live streams that they do over on the official YouTube channel. Okay, now before I let you guys get on with your day, I just want to let you guys know that all of the modding and map updates will come in a separate video that might come on Sunday, depending on what comes out this week, or I might do it in the middle of the week, depending on if I think I have enough stuff to kind of educate you guys on. There is one thing I want to tell you guys about before we move on, and that is this amazing map by Replays Cities. And we'll go over it in the new video that's going to be coming out in a few days here, or maybe even Sunday, that will go over all the new maps and mods. We'll go into this map in detail, but seriously, give Cape Kelvin a look if you are looking for a new map. I genuinely think it might be the best Cities Skylines 2 map out there right now. If it's not the best, it's top 3. So many great little details in this one, and Riri knocked this map out of the park. Okay, that's going to be it from me, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.